Hey guys, Jehuty here with another Tekken 7 video, and today for you I've compiled my top 5 mistakes I see beginners make when they start playing the game, maybe even a bit into the game after that as well. As usual per these videos, you can find the timestamps in the description to skip to the part you want to, and yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. So the first thing we're looking at are tier lists. If you don't know what a tier list is, it's when certain individuals think about which characters they see more viable than others, so they maybe categorize them in the best characters, which are at the top, and the worst characters, which are at the bottom, and then of course those in between. So why do some people put so much importance on tier lists? Well, they're mainly made by higher level players and professional players that have countless hours of experience with the game. However, for you yourself, it has no bearing whatsoever on your gameplay whilst you're starting Tekken, even well into the game, because they only matter at the top level of play, and even with that, they're still subjective. So don't worry about any of these things, pick the character you feel comfortable with, and also keep in mind that the game is very well balanced across the 50 characters. As a counter argument to the tier list, you have a character like, let's say, Eddie, you also have characters like Learing and Nina and co. And these maybe are not placed that high on tier lists, but they're going to make your life very, very miserable. So the next point here I see to be the most important one, and that is people refusing to block, and what goes hand in hand with that is people pressing buttons and then getting counter-hit launched. So let me try to make this more understandable with an example. Here is a very typical beginner scenario, and that is your opponent hits you with an attack. And now instead of you blocking right after getting hit by their attack, you want to retaliate immediately. And then what happens is that you get either launched or counter-hit launched, you're taken up into the air and your opponent gets a full combo off of you. You see, just like in real life, when you get hit by something, you have to recover from it. So your opponent has the advantage. So your default after getting hit should be pressing back to block or tapping back quickly to do a backdash to put some distance between you and the opponent. It shouldn't be to retaliate immediately. The other scenario you have are moves that you block but put you at a disadvantage, and you can really see that by the animation of your character struggling to recover even though they blocked it. And what will mostly happen in these scenarios is that if you try to retaliate as well, you will get launched. I understand it's not always easy to block, especially with characters like Nina and Learing, which can just endlessly assault you and you're never sure if it's really your turn, and you can't always endlessly block. But for now, as a beginner, your default should always be to either block or put some distance between you and the opponent. So watching professionals play Tekken at esports tournaments is always awesome. And people are actually going to tell you to watch how certain pros play your specific character so that you can get better at the character. However, these things can elude you to have false expectations going into the game, because the experience which is at the top level of Tekken is very different from what you're going to be experiencing. So for instance, you've watched Ni, you find his Kazuya really awesome, so you're trying to implement some of the things into your game plan, like movement, your placement in the stage, sidestepping, and then maybe you want to use the crouch dash mix-up. But truth be told is, nobody's going to allow you to use that mix-up because they're continuously assaulting you, always in your face. So you're going to spend most of your time at the beginning actually learning character matchups, specifically their gimmicks and how to counter them. So a lot of people like to go online and watch these awesome combo videos and try to replicate these combos. But the thing is, a lot of these combos are very hard to pull off. They take a whole lot of time to learn, and they're maybe not even that consistent yet at your level of play. They can also be very situational, so you have to be slightly to the right of your opponent or slightly to the left of your opponent for the combo to connect, or the combo won't connect at all because the character you're dealing with has a smaller hitbox, like let's say Xiaoyu. So what you should do instead is learn staple combos, which have been mostly proven to be very consistent. And what you can also do is you can look at the sample combos under practice mode. The thing is, yes, they don't do quite as much damage, but they do enough damage and they're more consistent, and realistically speaking you can learn them in a reasonable time frame. The other thing I'd like to mention on the side are tenet combos. Do not waste your time learning these. A lot of people like to spend their time learning these. They can be effective maybe slightly at the beginning level, but later on they don't become that useful anymore, and you've spent a lot of time trying to memorize them. So, Rage Art. It's a great comeback mechanic, however, at beginner level people like to just throw it out at the end of rounds when they're losing as a panic move, and in many cases it doesn't really work out that well. So what you should do is that you should avoid doing this, but if your opponent is doing this, what you can also do is you can bait them out, like you can dash into them but not attack and then block, or you can just use like very quick moves like a 1 jab or a 2 jab, things which recover quickly for you to block. The other problem which I see people have with the Rage Art is that they can't help themselves but just press the button because it's a single button. So if you have that problem, you can get rid of the button altogether under the input sections, so that for instance, let's say R1 isn't calibrated to that button anymore. So what will happen is that you will have to manually input it under its proper inputs. And if you're having problems rationalizing this away, it's the same as when you input a rage drive, the blue stuff. So with that, it should be easier for your brain to process that you're now inputting it manually. So that brings us to the end of this video. Thanks for watching until to the end. You know the drill. If you like the video, leave a like. And of course consider subscribing to get the latest Tekken clips, and of course guides and anti-character guides from the channel. Of course the occasional review as well. This is your boy Jehuty, and I'll see you on the next one.